Welcome and step into the minds of addiction and recovery. Hello, I'm your host, Brett C. It is an honor to bring into light one of the darkest aspects of our society, addiction. With 20 years of active addiction and 20 years of sobriety, I hope to bring together all listeners on a journey of inspiration and education. With my co-hosts Jared F. and Rich J., we will be sharing our experience, strength, and hope for all listeners to enjoy and have fun with. Now, F3 Recovery brings you the Super Sober Podcast.
Hello out there in listening in viewer land. We are on podcast number 10 of the Super Sober Podcast. Welcome and thanks for tuning in. We've gone through all of the steps except for 10, 11, and 12, and that's what this podcast will be hitting on. We're going to do the notorious in maintenance steps of recovery, 10, 11, and 12. We've done 1, 2, and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9 on the previous 4 episodes of the Super Sober Podcast. So if you want to start off with the foundation stuff, it's there. You can just go ahead and search down in YouTube or on any of the links and any of the listening platforms. We're there. We're going to be going through the maintenance steps. My name is Brett C. I'm your host. My sobriety date's 4/21/03. I'm an RN with a BSN. I've been working in hospitals for up to around 18 years. Been working in chemical dependency, helping our fellow sick ones for just 9 years in November. And we'll go to the left.
My name is Jared F. My sobriety date is the 4th of July, 2015. Currently work in a acute detox setting. I'm a KDAC 2 and internationally certified drug and alcohol counselor.
My name is Mike D. My sobriety date's January 18th of 2020, and I'm self-employed accountant.
All right, there we go. We'll make sure all the numbers are right and everything after
That's
this
right.
podcast with Mike. So he's the remote tax doctor you've seen on a couple episodes so far. I appreciate everybody that's helped us out in the first 10 episodes. We're here at the podcast place in Long Beach, California with our producer, Solomon. Shout out to Solomon. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing 10, 11, and 12. We're going to be talking about an hour of 10, 11, and 12. And these are the maintenance steps of recovery, like I've alluded to like 3 times probably already. But to get it all done and to talk about these 3 steps in an hour, hit it. Let's go. So, yeah, right. So it's not going to be easy. This is a very vast topic at the end of it. So a lot of people never get to this point in recovery to get to the maintenance part of what we've been doing for the last 4 podcasts, or all the steps and stuff leading up to all the work we've been doing. It's been a lot of ego puncturing, a lot of humility, a lot of uploading new information, ways to process your life, getting through your character defects, doing a huge character reflect on 4 and 5, making big decisions in our first 1, 2, and 3, and then going out and telling people and making amends in 8 and 9. Wow, what a daunting process, right? Mm-hmm. So on 10, we're going to come in. So the road to recovery, continuing the journey to a happy life, is our first slide up here. And we'll go on to the next one. And that's AA steps 10, 11, and 12, achieving and sharing sobriety. So right now we're going to be going into 10, and this is the way that we stay in the program. This is the way we continue to grow, continue to show up, and we continue to know, and then we continue after 12 to really take action and dive out, and then start to practice this program in a new way and start sharing it and start teaching it. So let's go to the next slide. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. So that's a super powerful little statement. So that's what we're doing today. We're giving some good, solid information out there to you and the listeners. And this is 12-step work that we're doing right here, even though it's on a professional platform. So every time that we're working with people, we don't wait until you get to 10, 11, and 12, like we've alluded in a lot of the other podcasts and steps, to start practicing these. So you've already been, hopefully through your sponsor, taken through these steps variedly, or practicing 80, in the big book where they read in chapter on step 11 in the program about the upon awakening and a lot of different areas, 60 to 63, 85 through 89, 417, which we've already talked about in previous podcasts. We'll just do a quick run through. And the next slide, Solomon. Some milestones for AA 12 steps 10 through 12 would be step 10, continued accountability, monitoring behavior, making amends, building relationships with those around you. Step 11, mindful reflection, practicing daily meditation and self-reflection. Step 12, service to others, sustaining sobriety and giving back to the community. Step 12, maintaining growth, continuing to build relationships, developing new skills, and finding new ways to grow in your sobriety. So we're always looking for new ways. It's not just a one and done process. We've talked a lot about it so far. So we're going to get into it. So steps 10, 11, and 12, these steps involve continuing to take personal inventory and promptly admitting it when we're wrong, seeking to improve our conscious contact with a higher power through prayer and meditation, and sharing the message with others and practicing the principles in all areas of our lives. And then one more forward there, Solomon. Here's a couple statistics that came up that when I made this PowerPoint, that 47% of AA members complete steps 10 through 12, which was kind of high, right? I mean, we all sponsor people here. I would say, I don't know about that, but I think these days, maybe it is as high as that. And then out of the 12 steps in AA, steps 10, 11, and 12 are known as the maintenance steps and are taken by 47% of AA members to maintain sobriety. The next statistic shows that 40% Google searches for AA steps through 10 through 12 have risen 40% in the last 2 years. So almost 50% people have been more interested in Googling and researching the steps. And then 90% of those who complete AA steps 10 through 12 have maintained their sobriety. Now, I know that one to be true for me. I don't know if it's that high, but there's some percentages that are out there. I didn't. Yeah, Jared's looking at me sideways over here.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's those are cool stats, for sure. I would offer that 100% of people that work steps 10, 11, and 12 maintain their sobriety.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that it's Google searches for 10, 11, 12 are up 40%, because that kind of speaks to maybe some more people are interested in having the spiritual process evolve. I don't mean to interrupt you there.
No,
but there's a couple of spots in working the 12-step program where I kind of noticed the same thing. And that was after 1, 2, and 3, a lot of people tend to stop, right? There's like a pause that can occur for a lot of people. And then the bulk of the work taking place, 4 through 9. And then after 9, there's almost this tendency, and I know I did it too. And this is important for people that are just going through your steps the first time, understanding that, like, hopefully we continue to work the steps ongoing throughout our recovery process. But after step 9, there was like such a huge sigh of relief that there was almost a lack of desire to, it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm good now. Right. And then 10, 11, and 12, at least my first couple of times through the steps, got glossed over a little bit. Right. So, yeah, hopefully we can talk a lot more about that. But
we're going into that. Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. Let's go to the next slide. A couple, I just threw those in there, some percentages that came up, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So over 75% recover. More than 75% of people who completed the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous recover from alcoholism. Kind of controversial there. 2/3 of AA members report greater spirituality after working 10, 11, and 12. And once we get into some further slides here, guys, that is more than 2/3. I mean, if you've done this well, you got a good sponsor and you've really put the effort into it, there's no way you're not going to increase your spirituality, your concept, your look at your life. So much for the first 9 steps, so much has been relieved. So much has been pulled out, your view of life, all these character defects, there's no way spirituality is not going to creep in if you work this program well.
Hey, I have a question though.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you mean? What do you consider recover and recovery? Because I thought that was an interesting term.
Yeah. So I know that the way it's worded on the slide, Alcoholics Anonymous recover from alcoholism. we would never say that our disease is completely gone. It's just, it's in remission. When it's discussed in the big book about what we recover from is a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And that's what I would refer to. Like, I have a friend, Paul, that always announces himself in a meeting that he's a recovered alcoholic. And that's what I have learned that means from him.
Right. Yep.
Okay. I was just curious if there was like a number or a certain number of days or months or years where you haven't partaken that it's considered recovered.
Yeah, it's like the platinum level or something.
Yeah. Great question, Solomon. I'm glad you picked it up, because when I read this and everything, and I'm sure everybody that's in recovery reads that recover, and it's like, whoa. And that's a quick pause. But I knew Mike or Jared would come up with the right answer on that one. And that's from a seemingly hopeless state of body and mind. So you're gonna find that it's gonna happen. So we're gonna get right into it on step 10 here. Step 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. We need to take personal inventory on a daily basis to recognize areas that need improvement. Now, I got a little story to tell really quick on step 10. At year 20, going into 21 of recovery, I got into a verbal altercation with somebody, and it elevated. And I had to make amends during this process. And I wasn't really in the wrong, but I did, I got a black belt in Tung Fu. That means I can flip and instigate and evaluate and say a couple things. And what I said brought the ego out, and then he went into immediately defense, which was kind of what I intended. So I had to apologize for my side of the street on it. And that's what we do. When I'm wrong, I promptly admit it. And even sometimes it's even good to just admit I'm wrong, to just squash the situation. So that's just getting to practicing better ways to evaluate life and everything. So the personal inventory, man, what a way to really just shine the light on myself. I know on the next slide, we're not going to go there yet, Wade Solomon. On the next slide, it gives a checklist. There's so many different ways to practice this. And a great way to practice the program is continue with your foundational work and to evaluate where I am. A lot of people do what we call is the spot checklist, or a spot check, right where we're at, where our feet are. I have sponsees that set that timer every day. Sometimes you maybe should set that timer every hour early in recovery, where your feet are, where your thoughts are, where you are, where you should be. Just like a personal inventory of what's going on right now. So what do you guys think? Want to keep going on this one here?
Yeah.
Jared, let's hear it.
So, I look at this as like a whole lifetime of living an alcoholic mess got cleaned up through essentially 1 through 9, right? And it was so daunting, and tried to avoid it at all costs just because it seemed insurmountable, just so much crap to clean up. Step 10 is beautiful in that I'm essentially avoiding the heaping pile of shit from getting too big again, right? So it's like if you cook, right? If you're in the kitchen and you're cooking, and you can do it one of two ways. You can just cook and at the end of it, clean everything, or you can cook and kind of clean as you go, right? And things seem a little bit more manageable if you do it that way. And what you mentioned just now, because you talked to me about that little situation that you had recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
With this,
with
this dude, right? And it's,
I forgot I talked to you about that. Jared's like my in-work in-house sponsor stuff. I'm, well, Jared, I did talk with you for a minute.
Your time in sobriety though shows, right? It was something that in the moment you were able to go like, okay, wow, like this is something I was in the wrong and I need to clean it up, right? Yeah. Step 10, the way it's when we start out with step 10, they're talking about questions, essentially, 6 questions that we go through at the end of each day, kind of review our day, find out where we were wrong. And then, if we were wrong, go back and admit this stuff promptly and try to clean it up. But eventually that's not the end goal. That's the practice part of it.
Right.
But eventually where we end up is this becomes an integral part of our character and our being. And we get to recognize like, oh man, like I probably wasn't doing that right. Right. And we can pick this stuff up in real time and clean it up, or as close to that as possible. Right. So it's so that it, and that changes the way our lives materialize and how we show up. It's kind of actually a very beautiful thing. I'll have Mike share on it, but I'm going to,
let's
read some stuff to you guys.
Right. Story time with Jared.
Eventually. Mike, you got anything to say on this one?
Yeah, I would. When I read something like we need to take personal inventory on a daily basis, I try to always communicate with a sponsee what step 10 entails. It's basically taking, like you had said earlier, steps 4 through 9 into a daily step. So when it talks about inventories, it could be you're working a mini 4th step on some issue. It could be that you're reflecting on your 6th step inventory of your character defects and your character assets. I always throw in there. And then the other part of it is making the amends and knowing when you've done something wrong, even if the other person doesn't know you did something wrong. And I think one of the progress steps that you can find yourself in is, let's say I've wronged Brett in some way, and I'll think about it for a few days about should I make an amends or not.
And I'm just waiting for him to make amends because I already know.
But you don't know. And the way that I would measure my progress is that instead of it taking 3 days for me to make an amends to Brett, I immediately say, Brett, I'm sorry about what I just said. I didn't mean it that way, or whatever the situation ends up being. Right. So that's how I see progress on step 10, especially with the amends.
Why don't we go over the next slide right here? Because this is the next one that you sent me, Mike. Right here. Why don't we go over this one real quick?
Right.
Mike,
so this is
your sponsees
from the Joe and Charlie workshop workbook. And many times when I'm working with a sponsee, I'm explaining to them about you're doing either a mini 4th step or a mini 6th step when you're working this step. And what this does is it takes from that previous handout that we had shown back on step 6 and 7's episode, and it takes some of the, just a few of the character defects as well as character assets that you could practice, or when you're reflecting at the end of the day, where you were prideful, greedy, angry,
selfish,
gluttonous,
or afraid.
Yeah, you did harmful acts. But then you also are wanting to check yourself on your character assets too. You know, again, step 6 is not meant to beat yourself up. This is a discovery of both good and bad in your character as it currently stands. So this worksheet I find is very helpful for my sponsees to work for like the first couple of weeks, looking off this inventory sheet. After that, I tell them use a journal if they want to, and then they could get to the point where they don't even need the journal and they can just do this in their head at the end of each day.
Becomes a working part of the mind.
Correct.
The checklist is there. I mean, this is super powerful right here. This is all contrary action to your personality characteristics of self-will, personality characteristics of God's will, or the higher plane or spirituality. You're frightened? Step into your courage a little bit. Step into the power of who we really are on all these personality characteristics of God's will: patience, tolerance, forgiveness, love and concern for others, good deeds. No longer all this self-pity and all those kind of things. If you don't contrarily go against those things, then they're just going to remain. How are we going to remove this stuff? So super powerful stuff. Thanks for sharing and sending that checklist in. And go ahead and share what you were going to read there, Jared.
All right.
Some cool stuff.
This is a book called Drop the Rock, The Ripple Effect. So Drop the Rock, the original one, was about step 6 and 7, character defects, shortcomings. This one is using step 10 to work 6 and 7 every day. Great book.
Ooh.
There's some killer stuff in here. If you're ever interested, highly recommended.
Haven't read it yet.
But this
On the list now.
in here, there's a little section. It's called Promises, Directions, and Warnings. Then it says the big book provides us with specific directions for working step 10, as well as some clear promises and warnings. When we follow its directions, we live into the promises. When we don't, we live into the warnings. On pages 84 and 85, the big book promises us 8 outcomes, which I've numbered here as a list. Number 1 says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. Number 2, for by this time, sanity will have returned. 3, we will seldom be interested in liquor. 4, if tempted, we recoil as if from a hot flame. Number 5, we react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We'll see that our new attitude toward liquor or any other substance has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That's the miracle of it.
That's right.
And 6, we're not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Number 7, instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor afraid. It's number 8. And it goes on to talk about a whole lot more. But just, I mean, those are all the things that, man, when I was actively getting loaded, it's like, there's not a chance I would have ever thought that that would be me or
Right.
could exist within me, right? And these things happen. I mean, you talk to people that work the steps, that stay sober, and people that are not afflicted with their addiction or alcoholism, see this like that we fight every day to stay sober. That's not been my experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? We do this stuff for a reason.
That's why we surrender.
We work steps for a reason. We help others for a reason.
Mhm.
And that's whatever you want to call it. But the miracle of this program is that and more. Right?
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast and laying down some foundational step 10 stuff, which once you clean out your side of the street and it starts to get dirty, you feel it really quick. And it's not so much about them. I'm just like, oh, nope, I'm not going down that road. I'm going to make my direct amends. And there's a time frame with it too. At first, you'll kind of marinate on rationalize and justify what you know you need to go make amends for.
Yeah. How long you want to suffer?
Yeah. And it's just like, but the suffering feels right. And it's like, but then after a while, it just feels no good at all. And I don't care. My ego has been, I'll make direct amends. And then I'll be reviewing, and then I'll go back. And I'd say 95% of the time when I do it, I'll apologize for something that my mouth just blurted out something. And then they would have not even been aware of it happening. They're like, oh, no problem, Brett. But it bothered me that I did that could be some part of what my character makeup now is that could disturb someone's psyche or involvement with other people or at work or people, places, and things.
Right.
So I'm pretty aware of that through practicing this one. Anything you guys want to share more on step 10? Because we could go the whole rest podcast on step 10.
I just want to say real quick, this like the essence and spirit of step 10 is Kathy Tunney. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but just a reminder, it's like she give people tattoos all the time, like little words to live by.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite one she ever gave anybody is your willingness to look bad makes you look really, really good.
Yeah, that is honestly. Drop it there. It's like, yeah, I really don't care. They say you can't save your face and your ass at the same time. So,
Right. That too.
and it's like, I don't care how I look like that. I need to continue this way, because if I don't keep on building my new self and practicing this way, I'll revert. The old Brett is here, right here. And we're not going that way. All right. So step 11, we're going to go right into there. And step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will and the power to carry that out. Prayer and meditation help us develop a deeper connection with our higher power and find peace amidst the chaos of life. Step 11, the most under-practiced step besides step 2, that, in my opinion, of all 12. So most people don't have a meditation game. Most people, I hear old timers sharing meaning when it comes up to this one on the second half of it. And that they'll be like, well, I'll never be in that Om area. And they don't have a meditation game. I didn't have really a meditation game, even though I practiced the steps and did a lot of the prayers and all that kind of stuff until year 15. So over the last 6 years, I've really developed my meditation game and guided meditation and really delved deeper into my spirituality. And step 11 is just some of the most foundational wisdom on 85 through 89, some of the paragraphs in there, upon awakening, when we retire at night. And there's so much going on right now in the spirituality game. If you can just look it up on YouTube, and just all these people practicing all these beautiful ways of meditating and group meditations and the science behind it. And it's, I wish it for me, if you're listening to this podcast and you're in early recovery and whatever, it's like, get on step 11, start meditating, start getting quiet. Don't worry. If you get quiet, it's just you're going to confront some, who you really are and who the voice is inside your head, and the separation between mind, body, and spirit, and the connection between mind, body, and spirit. And it's just unbelievable. It's me and my wife have really been delving into it deep and caught a lot new mentors and everything. And the program, since it's non-denominational or non-segregated at all, it's always about inclusiveness. Doesn't get into the aspect of a lot of the people that are masters and of meditation and stuff like that will lead you into Hinduism or the Himalayas or different places in India and Asian philosophies and a lot of different things, which could lead you away from finding your own relationship with a higher power. That's why a lot of it isn't directed, I believe, in the program like that. What do you guys think?
Well, I would say for sure that there's a reason why we say the steps are written in the order that they're written. And if we don't do that step 10, clearing our mind first in order to practice step 11, you're going to not have a successful prayer and meditation program if you're not working that step 10 thoroughly. For me, I set times to do my prayer and meditation, although I do find as time has gone by that I can slip quickly into a prayer or meditation state when I'm feeling restless, irritable, or discontent about something or some situation that comes up. For me, I would say, or what has been taught to me is that prayer is me talking to God, and then meditation is God talking back to me. So with that, in my meditation, I distinctly listened for the different voices that you were referring to. So I know my voice when I'm in a meditative state. I know it very well. It's the voice that I hear when I'm reflecting on what I just prayed about. That is what I believe is my higher power speaking to me. Or in some cases, I call it Jiminy Cricket, that, other little voice out there outside of my mind, but I hear it inside. That's what really gets me to my answers to solve my problems. That's about what I have on that.
All right, cool.
I have way too much to say on step 11.
No, share it. I know it.
Please.
Dude. Oh my God. Okay.
Why you had to be here on step 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned the first few times through the steps, my first go round and when I had meaningful sobriety the first time, the prayer piece was there. That was drilled into me early on. The prayer piece was like, and I've talked about it on here. Yeah. So I was praying every day, morning and night, from my knees, which we've talked about. But during that time, I was always kind of drawn to the idea of meditation until I very half-heartedly made an attempt. It was the stupidest thing ever. I had ordered like this meditation box set. Came with a CD.
Yeah.
It came with terrible incense. And it came in the mail, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give this a go. I'll
You
never
open the
forget it.
box and it goes,
Yeah, I opened the box up. I'm like, all right, cool. So I light this terrible incense. I put this thing in, this CD thing in there. Like, all right, I'm gonna do this meditation. Hit play, and it was like, it was awful. It was awful. It was my first real go at it, and I don't know what I thought was gonna happen, but what I thought was gonna happen, the exact opposite happened. And I thought I was going to relax, I guess. I thought I was going to have this amazing
Yeah.
experience. I thought it was going to be, maybe do some levitating or some,
That's right.
freaking have a psychedelic experience or something.
Boom.
No.
Some
What
remote
happened?
Viewing.
My fucking back hurt. Everything was itching. My thoughts sped up instead of slowed down. It was awful, horrible. So I drew the conclusion. Clearly, I suck at meditation. That's out. I discarded it.
One shot.
Yeah, one shot, right? Very alcoholic. Yeah. So, but then the next, after that, kind of gave up on it, and so fast forward to this go round in sobriety. After having had a relapse, after 8 years of sobriety, and all that came back, and this is why sponsorship's so important.
Right.
The sponsor that I had this time, on step 10, even, he's like, no, you're going to email me that list every night. You're going to answer those questions, and you're going to email it to me until it becomes part of you. And I did that. And then he stopped me on step 11. I was like, cool. Yeah, no, I already pray. We're good to go.
Yeah, bro.
He's
What
like,
about second half?
Yeah. He's like, you're going to meditate. And I told him the experience that I just told you guys about. And he's like, I don't fucking care. And here's what you're going to do. And he set it up so that I could succeed. I needed help. I didn't know I needed help, just like all the other steps, man. And I didn't know. My first thing is I don't have time. The second thing was I suck at it, right? And he said, dude, here's the deal. So he set me up on my phone. He said, there's an app. It's called Insight Timer. Download it. So, okay, follow the direction. I did it. And he's like, I don't care how busy you are. You can do 2 minutes twice a day. You're going to do it. Do it at the same time every morning, every night, right? So started out with the 2-minute thing, and this app has timer bells, right? So that was the experience that I have when I would sit to meditate, is how couldn't shake it, man. How long have I been doing this, and how much longer do I have to do this? Those were the two things. But that app eliminated those two barriers, right? So, and then I started to extend it. And then he wanted me to set myself up to succeed. So he's like, you have to prepare to meditate.
Right.
Don't be like sitting there watching the fucking news and think, oh, I think I'll meditate now.
I'm going to go from fear to meditation in 1 second.
So he's like, set it up like half hour before you meditate, or before you're due to meditate. Put your phone away, turn the TV off, maybe listen to some music, read something about meditation, maybe. Shit, I don't know. And prepare, have a place where you go do this. So I set it up. I don't have a big house or anything like that, but I had set up a spot outside. I made it the most beautiful, my little patio in my apartment, man. I made it the most beautiful place ever. I potted some jasmine out there. I put a nice little comfortable area to do it.
And this is an apartment patio area?
Yeah. Small.
What? You can do it there?
You can do it anywhere, turns out, right?
No excuses, people.
Yeah. So made a spot anyway. And that's where it all started, right? And so incrementally, the times of meditation got further and further. The guided meditations were super helpful early on because my brain needed something to follow early on. And, eventually that morphed into, I would have more productive meditation time in kind of ambient sounds, stuff like that. And then we took it even a step further with the meditation stuff, and I got turned on to breath work. When I told you I have way too much to talk about with this,
No,
I was
go
not
ahead.
kidding, dude.
Yeah.
I'll just say,
Been getting
There's-
into that too myself lately. So.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, and the breath work is very important. And when we bring Dr. Allen on, she can talk about the central nervous system, why breath work is so effective, the different types of it. The one that I did was called holotropic breath work, which was developed by an Austrian psychiatrist, I believe he's Austrian, Stan Graf. But it was a weekend intensive, and you have to have a partner go do it. So my sponsor, Jason, and I went and we did this breath work. And if you've ever done breath work, right, you're essentially hyperventilating, depending on what type you're doing, for over an extended period of time. This one, you're breathing like that for 3 hours.
Wow.
With loud music. And I had one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in my life, with or without the aid of a substance. And anyway, if you're interested, look up holotropic, HOLO-tropic breath work. Interesting stuff. There's some places in the area that I know you know very well about, behind the lids, stuff like that, places where you can go and practice this stuff. But all, in my opinion, in an effort, and there's this huge movement that Brett, I'm sure we'll talk about, but there's an awakening going on with society in general surrounding all of this stuff. And I couldn't be more pleased about it. It makes me emotional just to think about it, because if you look at the world, all the shit that's going on right now, underneath all that, there's a movement happening. There's human beings are seeking in a way that I don't think we've ever sought before. In recovery, we're kind of we're really lucky because we're pushed towards this automatically. But I think society at large is elevating itself. So anyway, I'll shut up now. That's a lot.
No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. You got anything more on step 11, Mike? Do
No.
you do any guided meditations or anything like that?
No, I have done that before, and I've done the breath work before.
Okay.
But I find I just keep it really simple with my meditation. My grandmother and grandfather on my mom's side, they're the ones that started me out on meditation, and they did a lot of transcendental meditation when they had a master. And so I started learning that probably around junior high age.
Wow.
And so I just remember and practice a lot of the things that they taught me back then. And I bring that in now with other things that, people have mentioned. I do find myself doing some breath work. I don't know if I don't normally like set aside a specific time to do it, but I'll just notice that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at in my meditation. And that's pretty much what I try to teach my sponsees. I know that there's so many other resources out there, but a lot of my sponsees, they've just gotten off of being homeless and, they don't have a budget to go, somewhere for $79 to learn meditation.
Right.
So I try to teach them what I can that doesn't cost them anything. So
Right. That's a good resource. All the stuff from all of my mentors and everything's all free on YouTube. They just care about people doing it. They don't care about making money from it. And all their platforms and everything, from Sadhguru to Dandapani to Louise Hay, Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, all of these people are just Kenneth Soares, which is a really powerful one that we listen to. It's all on YouTube. You just punch it in there and then start. Like Jared started with 2 minutes.
Right.
We're talking about getting quiet. So you're never going to be able to shut your mind off. We're not trying to shut off the body. You wouldn't shut your mind off, just like what Sadhguru would say. If anybody's not familiar with him, he's a mystic of India, and he's been teaching people. He's like probably the most famous mystic ever. And like what Jared said, I mean, he goes around the world and teaches his stuff. The same with Dandapani. He was a monk, and then he decided he's an entrepreneur now, and he's spent his life on teaching people the monastic lifestyle and what it's really like. It's not anything what you think it is until you actually start delving into it, and then it becomes a more spiritual journey. So on year 15, my mind was still attacking me. And I'm like, oh, I have to go deeper. So I was praying on it. I'm like, God, show me the way. And then lo and behold, there was a signed book that I got from one of my patients, and it was right there on my headboard. And he's like, boom, took me to this guy. And that's just taken me on this journey to where I'm at. And now I do breath work. Shout out to Behind the Lids in Costa Mesa, California. That's a place where they do all of these things at. Mandy and David, they're awesome. They do breath works on Tuesday night. They do sound baths. They do all these different things. And it's not really that expensive. The one on Tuesday night is $30. I mean, it was like 2 hours getting into it. The last one, they do the certain breath work. I know there's Wim Hof. We'll get Dr. Grover on here one of these days, and I know he's done some of that. And um, people just all over the place practicing this stuff, and it's a barrier for a lot of people. Once you start doing it and getting quiet, I have a meditation mask I got for $20 off of Amazon. It has Bluetooth wireless headphones in the thing, and you just put the mask on, Bluetooth it in, and me and my wife will listen to it, guided meditations all night. The best way to reprogram your brain is when you're out of the way. So we just
Right.
download right into the subconscious all night. And it's like when I'm out of the way. And there's a whole science behind all of that stuff too. When you're dropped down into the lower states of the frequencies of your brain, we discussed that on episode 2, I believe. And we're going to be going deeper into all that stuff too. We got the foundational stuff of the program going into into episode 10. So from this point on, when we're going on further in the podcasts and everything, it's going to be a lot more fluidity, a lot more people that are advanced stages. We've done the foundational step work here, and we're going to be going into um, step 12. What do you guys think? So we could talk about all these topics like we've shared so many times on the podcast for step 11, but it's definitely something that what Jared alluded to is to just not go, it's to ease into these different states. We're not going to expect you to get into a meditative state and then you're going to go in there. It's like learn a little bit about it, read about it, um, start ramping down a little bit into the state instead of just jumping in from your busy life and then, okay, meditate. And then then your mind's really taken off because you got so much and you've just had your busy day and then you're just going to stop. But once you get really good at it, you don't even have to sit down and stop to meditate. There's called the awake meditations. You're like what Mike was sharing. It becomes a working part of the mind. I'm in a meditative walking. They do walking meditations and all that kind of stuff that I do when we go walking. Me and the wife have an outside speaker and we'll just do it. And then people will be walking by us or, what the hell is that? And it's like a Kenneth Swords meditation or something, or Joe Dispenza. And they're just like, we're walking by and we have it on a loudspeaker on one of those little wireless things that you can put to your belt. So we're going to go ahead and move on to step 12 here. And that's having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So our spiritual awakening is not a one-time event, people, but rather an ongoing journey that requires effort and dedication. So we put a lot of effort into our first 11 steps, a lot of dedication. If you don't do that and you don't push back on the old self will remain, it will return. You will return back to your old character defects. The defeat and repeat will happen. You will drink and use again, and then you'll be right back to where you were or worse. True. And we see it a lot. We see a lot of people. We talked about non-compliance. We've talked a lot about the other podcasts up to this one. So go ahead and just jump into wherever it is. But now it's time to go ahead and we have a spiritual awakening to a very degree coming into step 12. And some people practice it super fast. Some people are slow. I like to take my sponsees and shake their hand and say, there's 12 steps, there's 12 months. We'll do a step a month, and then not letting them know that we're going to be doing a very, very thorough 4 and 5. But, and they agree. Mostly all of them are like, sure, I can do a step a month. And yeah, right. Okay. Let alone call every day. But then now we're going to carry this message to other alcoholics. But rarely has someone got to step 12 and is not already out there practicing, going to places like Charlie Street or helping people with rides or just being of service to other people's. So just know it's not a one-time event. This is an ongoing thing. My spirituality really started taking off on year 15. I know a lot of people that are early in recovery, like I've never seen before, that are just killing the game. They are just high states of meditation, just spirit, just eating it up on years 2, 3, 4, 5, even 1. So I mean, for me, it's like how important 11 is, but how important 12 is just we can't just keep it. We're supposed to be giving it away. So this right here again, I'll even emphasize it again. Our spiritual awakening is not a one-time event, but rather an ongoing journey. So there's no ceiling on it. I'm going to keep on going myself. I've just been so inspired to even come out here and do the podcast and share it with brothers and sisters and all these journeys of inspiration and education. So let's hear about it, guys.
Yeah. So for myself, having had a spiritual awakening, I try to have that spiritual awakening every morning. I also agree it's not a one-time event,
Yeah.
and for
Every
me,
morning though, huh?
every morning
Yeah.
I have to get into,
Just to know, guys, I'm not interrupting here, but every morning I get the spiritual
spam.
journey. Yeah, spiritual spam from Mike. It's a boop. And I know it's around 4 or 5 in the morning. And it's like, cool, man. Thanks for the boop on my phone. I'll get to it later. And then I
Right.
send him some stuff. So
Yes.
if you don't have those kind of friends in your life, maybe that have a lot of different feeds or group feeds in recovery to keep ourselves accountable, get on one. Okay.
And continue to educate yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of what you send me is, I've never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly am blessed that you send that stuff to me. One of the things that we say in the program is right sizing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to reflect on in my spiritual awakening is the right sizing of myself, that I remind myself that I'm no longer little g God of my world,
Mm-hmm.
that I sucked at it. I don't want the job anymore. And that leads me to, release my selfishness, self-seeking, self-centeredness attitude that I wake up first thing in the morning with. And being of service is probably the number one thing I tell people that helps me with my long-term sobriety. Because if I'm thinking about somebody else or doing for somebody else, then I'm not thinking about me, and I'm not just trying to, please my pleasure mode or please whatever things that I need to get done. I'm a big list maker, to-do lists.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell God first thing in the morning, I said, here's the list of things I got to do today, God. But if you think that you have something better that needs to be on that list, please interject wherever you want to in the day, and I won't be mad. Because I used to get mad all the time at God for, somebody call, I need a ride here or there.
Yeah.
Oh, now I have to put this down and help this person. Now I'm not mad about that anymore.
Right.
It's a big attitude shift for me. And that's part of the reason why is because I give God permission. That's one of the things that where's the rest of step 12 up there? Practice our principles in all our affairs. And I would say, where we're, sorry, just blanked out on me of where we're not going to put ourselves first anymore. We're going to put other people ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of that right sizing process. I'm not it. I'm not the one that always has to be the focus of my
Right.
day.
That's right.
Right. And, sponsorship is a great way for me. Right now, I think the last time I counted, I've probably got around 13 sponsees. But when I say that, that doesn't mean I'm actively working with 13 sponsees.
Right.
I'm only will keep about 4 fresh ones that are actually working their steps as part of my routine. The rest of them have already worked all their steps. I consider them on maintenance mode,
Right.
which is 10, 11, and 12. They know I'm there available, but I also tell them to start reaching out to their AA community or whatever community it is that they that they're a part of. I have a sponsee that where he works, everybody's in the program.
Yeah.
And so he's made friends and fellowship there. And he feels he can talk to those people on the fly a lot easier than thinking, oh, I should call Mike right now, And that's what I want people to develop. I don't want codependency to be one of the outcomes of working the 12 steps with someone.
Wow, that's super powerful.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
Very healthy.
The collective.
Yeah.
Dive in. What do you got on this, Jared?
Yeah, I agree. The spiritual awakening thing. I like that goal. I like that goal of having a spiritual awakening every day. And I guess ongoing sobriety is exactly that for the most part, right? Like, me not getting loaded on a daily basis is a miracle for sure, but I want to have a spiritual awakening. And, a lot of times this step gets tied into, sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
And, passing this down. And I mean, step 12 is, on a certain level, what all three of us are doing here today. I think I
Right.
would say my core reason for coming on here whenever I come on here is that I want to pass on whatever was passed on to me onto just society at large, but specifically newcomers, people that are baffled by the way they're living their life, and trying to give them a way out. But when we talk about spiritual awakenings, I gotta say, like, I got taught about spiritual plateaus early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I am currently in one,
Mm.
like in a big way. Like I guess it's important to kind of discuss what that is, but spirituality, like Brett said, there's no ceiling on it,
Mhm.
right? So I'm either in the process of seeking and evolving spiritually, or I'm complacent and I'm not. Recently, super complacent in this arena. And it's a weird thing. And I've talked about sobriety will give you a life that'll steer you away from the very things that got you the life to begin with. So kind of recently for me, it's been like, my life has been it has felt so busy.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a beautiful daughter. And I'm either at work or I'm chasing my daughter around. Right? That's what's been going on in my life. And it's great. It's beautiful, but I'm starting to feel the effects of it, man. Like on a spiritual level, and I find myself with a lack of patience just in general, but patience with the people that I love. And this is, to me, it's the ebb and flow of life and spirituality. And it's like, anytime I reach this spot, the answer is always the same. Back to basics.
Mm.
And, yeah, so I am hoping for a spiritual awakening, moving forward, but I know that's not just it's not going to be like this aha thing. What I'm more after is the subtle spiritual grounding, that I know can occur by doing all the things that we've talked about here today.
Yeah, it's very vast, and I appreciate you guys sharing all that stuff and to share right where you're at. That it's like you can have a long time sobriety and then be aware of, like, hey, I've kind of plateaued at this time, but I'm aware of that. And it's okay. We're not going to be inspired at all times.
Right.
Now let's get to this last slide right here, Solomon. This one is an awesome one, guys. So what are the signs and symptoms that we're going to be expecting once we get to the 12 step and keep going on? We're going to go through it really quick right here. Number one, an increased tendency to let things happen rather than to make things happen. 2, frequent attacks of smiling. Watch out for that one. 3, feelings of being connected with others and nature. 4, frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. 5, a tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than from fears based on past experience. Number 6, an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. Dun, dun, dun. Number 7, a loss of the ability to worry. Oh man, Brett is slipping away into nothing. 8, a loss of interest in conflict.
Yes.
9, a loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. Oh no. Number 10, a loss of interest in judging others. Oh, my favorite. All right. 11, a loss of interest in judging myself. And number 12, the coup de grace, gaining the ability to love without expecting anything. So these are some of the signs and symptoms you're going to go through here. Now that we've uncovered, discovered, and discarded, we've gone through, and I'm no longer worried about my dad worried about me. I'm no longer worried about my mother worried about me relapsing or calling her from jail or all these lower vibrational, just unbelievable mucky muck, fear, anger, worry, guilt, doubt, shame, all these just, ugh. It's not like an issue on my day-to-day basis. It's like I woke up, I was already praying before I even straight opened my eyes. That's where I live in the kind of into the theta brainwave aspect of my meditation. And we talked about that in an earlier podcast. But I mean, what symptoms to have in your life that I can lose the interest in judging myself and others and just be at peace and just, how about just one day not complaining about one thing? Try that one. I'm pretty good at doing it externally, but I'm probably in the low 5s, maybe internally. There's always going to be something that I'm just super hyper critical of myself about. So anything else you guys want to share on this one? We're running down here about kind of on the end of the podcast. Anybody want to, any of those ones hit you guys?
Well, I would add to there, or maybe it's included or assumed in one of those on the list, is the pity party that we always talk about in AA.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know, like, I've heard sponsors say, if you're going to have a pity party, make it a quick one.
Yeah.
You know,
Feel it and let it go.
feel it, and let it go. Right.
Well, if you had the people.
And that helps by talking to somebody that you're having it,
Yeah.
you know, picking up the phone and saying, like, I'm wrestling with this right now. Get me off the ledge.
Yeah.
Help me pop the balloons.
Anything else you got on this one, Jared?
No, man. Other than that, I'm just eternally grateful that you know, there are some methods and steps and programs out there available that can take a guy like me and give me a life that's absolutely beyond my wildest dreams. I don't know how that happens. I mean, I do know how it happens. It's
Yeah.
but it still baffles me to this day. So, yeah, could you imagine? I mean, back in the day,
No.
having a brain like ours, and the whole society just looking at you, going like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And there's no solution in sight. Fuck.
Yep. This program can tame the most savage addict alcoholic minds, and it does it on a daily. So I'd rather, if you don't think it's true, man, just stay tuned and filter your life and see what happens through these 12 steps. So we're going to do a call out to action on the next slide here. Don't forget to check out the F3 Recovery website. We have the Detox, a story of addiction, the deadliest disease that man has ever known. Check it out. It's never been done. It's a streaming series for those in recovery, a niche project I've been working on. We're on all platforms here. We're on Buzzsprout is the link, RSS feed that can take you to any listening forum. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. We're out there. You want to see the video? We're on YouTube. All the other platforms, iTunes, all that stuff, we're there. Just type in Super Sober Podcast, or you can just go to Buzzsprout and it'll show you on the link. But if you go to f3recovery.org, we're there. Our emails, that's f3recovery.org. And that is the website for the Super Sober Podcast, the Detox, recovery resources. We got Mike DeBrock, the tax doctor's information there. He can help you suss out your financial wreckage. We have H&I, Pat's platform on there, different sober livings. It's an ongoing, increasing area of recovery resources. then you can email us. Please email us. No more spam email from people out there. Thank you. At info@f3recovery.org and info@supersoberpodcast.org. So thanks for listening. We've gotten through the 12 steps on this podcast. I appreciate everybody, all my guests and people that make this process possible. Awesome. Thank you as always, Solomon, for producing it and having a platform place for us to get through it. Shout out to Notorious JID, who's just sitting there waiting for your ass if you don't jump in and start changing your life. Jails, institutions, and death. We know all about that. And if you got someone steering themselves towards that process, help is out there. Help is available. We are willing and we know how, and there's a way out. And have a great day, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Super Sober Podcast. Go to our website at f3recovery.org. That's F3Recovery, all one word, .org. We're turning fight, flight, and freeze into free form and flowing through practicing the 12 steps and staying accountable to change. Don't forget to keep on keeping on.